Hello and welcome back. Today we are looking at actually moving on our road trip up the East Coast. The whole idea of this trip was an epic fall road trip up the East Coast and then on through to the Midwest during the fall/Halloween season. But so far, we have just been exploring New York. Today we move on and actually get out exploring. This New York visit has been a bit of a whistle-stop tour. This incredible city deserves far more time than we have given it on this trip. But this is only one of many trips that we have done to New York, so we just wanted to see the highlights and maybe a few new experiences. And the city has delivered. Due to the short time span, it meant that the weather really impacted the trip, but we still got everything done and had an absolute blast. But it's been hard work. We've done over 30,000 steps daily with minimal rest and sleep. We've been on the go for 4 days straight and need a little recovery time. This means today's entry will be pretty short. The next stop on the road trip is Boston, and the best way to get to Boston from New York is by rail. The Amtrak runs directly from Penn Station right into the heart of Boston, which means it's incredibly convenient. There are no subway rides or taxis out to the airport, no clunky security checks, no busy airport, delayed flights, or strict baggage requirements. It's just so easy and cheap. This trip cost us a mere $32 each. Bargain. So we headed to the swanky, newly renovated Moynihan train hall, bright and early, around 30 minutes before the train was due. The weather has remained clear and bright, and we looked forward to a little rest on the journey. We grabbed some bagels for the ride and boarded the train and settled into our large comfy seat. The train departed dead on time and we headed off up the coast. The route the train takes is really stunning, following along the New England coastline with stunning views of the Long Island Sound. The fall foliage was really colouring up, and the majority of the 4.5 hours we just sat back and took in the views. This is exactly what we needed, a few hours to just relax and decompress. This is one thing people never really realise about our trips. The amount of things we see and do and places we visit make our trips really hard work. All these efforts are cumulative. As the days add up, the fatigue builds, and we need these moments of relaxation to help us recharge, recover, and get ready for the next chapter. Once we finally reached Boston South Station, we emerged into the heart of the city. We contemplated a taxi, but in the end we just walked the mile-ish journey to the hotel. This would have been easy, but with the luggage in tow, it was a bit of a hike. We had chosen the Harbourside Inn, a small independent hotel right in the heart of the action, a stone's throw away from the wharfs and piers of the harbour, and right next to the old town of Boston with its historic sites and the Freedom Trail. It is the perfect location for exploring the city and was a pretty decent price, less than $200 a night, which at this time was about as good as it got in the city. The hotel was fairly basic, the room was nice enough, but the lack of any outside window was a bit unpleasant, as when we were in the room there was no reference to the time of day, which as we were already jet lagged was a bit confusing. However, the main reason we chose the hotel was the location, and this was perfect. We were all checked in and settled for 2 PM and ready to head out and explore. We'd naturally had a couple of big days planned, so this exploratory adventure was just to reacquire our bearings in the city. First off, we just headed to the harbour. The harbour walk runs for over 45 miles all along the stunning and ever-changing seafront of Boston. We headed down to Long Wharf to just hike a small portion of the walk. We were really taken aback how stunningly clear the water was and how relaxed the atmosphere is. In New York you get hardened pretty quickly to the madness, to the point you actively act aggressive towards your fellow man. However, on the peaceful and relaxed streets of Boston, this is completely out of place, but it takes a little while to de-stress from New York and remember, you are back in the civilised world. New York really has a character of its own. As we wandered aimlessly down the harbour walk for a while, we took in the clean air and even cleaner water that glowed a clear green colour, and even considered a swim in the unseasonably warm weather. It was around 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. We followed the walk round till we found an old part of town and explored the markets and pub-lined streets on the hunt for some lobster. After a few disappointments, we ended up in Legal Seafoods, right by our hotel. Legal Seafoods is a legend in Boston and has been serving up lobster, oysters and all kinds of seafood for over 70 years. Here we feasted on lobster mac and cheese, which was incredible and kind of like a fancy lobster thermidor. We also had some local oysters from the oyster festival that was running and a couple of drinks to wash it all down. And this was about all we managed for the day. We had 2 days of heavy sightseeing planned, and we just took this travel day as a rest and recuperation day. We had ticked Lobster off our Boston must-do list, although we doubt that will be the last, and just took our time to reacquaint ourselves with the city. Tomorrow we break out the Go City passes once more and strike out onto the tourist trail of Boston. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel as we continue our amazing fall adventures in Boston and beyond. And if you want to check out our New York portion of the trip, check the links below in the description. Bye for now.